Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Midweek Fix, your new show on the LFC Daytrippers for, well, midweek, isn't it? The clue is in the name. With me tonight is Jay Pearson and Mick Moran, both from the Kopite podcast. I do have Joe Wayneman from All Leeds TV, who's going to join me. He promised me he will, even though Leeds have just gone out of the League Cup on penalties, the Hull City at Elland Road. Tonight, listen, this show is going to be one of those where it's obviously going to be midweek. We're going to stay away from matches overall. We're going to have a look at stuff that's caught our eye over the last couple of days in the football world, whether that be Liverpool, whether it be Premier League, or whether it's anything. It could be PSG and Marseille killing each other on 90 minutes the other night. It can be anything at all. Important though, people in the comments, if you have anything that caught your eye, throw it in there, okay? Try to do so when we're coming towards the end of a topic, and we might pick up something and we might run with it. But tonight, initially, we're going to talk, your first ever game that you've been at live, whether that's at Anfield or away from it, to watch Liverpool, and in Joe's case, Elland Road to watch Leeds. We're going to talk about Mo Salah and the lack of, I suppose, praise he gets. And I don't know, like, it takes a hat-trick against Leeds for people to actually wake up and go, he's really good, isn't he? Gary Neville included. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about Frank Lampard and Jurgen Klopp and this media-driven rivalry that they're trying to get going as well. Lads, you're very welcome. Mick, how are you?
Yeah, not so bad, mate. You?
I'm good. My heart sank a little bit earlier when you were struggling to get a person for five-a-side football, but and then you just told me that it went from bad to worse. So I really feel for you. But listen, there's always next week, pal, on the Astro. There's always next week. Jay, how are you? First time on the show.
Mate, all good, mate. Happy to be here.
Good,
excited.
Good. I was talking to Jay before Mick joined us, and I was telling them about I wasn't telling them about it because they know all about it. It's their magazine that they brought out, the season 1920 review. It's absolutely fantastic. They sent us a copy. We gave it away last Friday night. I was a little bit reluctant to, I'm being honest. I told Jay that. But listen, there is talk of maybe releasing it at some stage in the future. We don't know whether that's near or far into the future. So if it does happen, please go and get it, because it's outstanding work from the lads. Absolutely outstanding. And I wanted to say that before we got going. Right, lads, we'll start with your first game. And this comes up on podcasts quite a lot. And it's actually a good way for people to introduce themselves as, you know, Jay's first time on the show. I think Mick's second or third time. But people go, oh, who is Mick? Who is Jay? You know, what about when did he first go? So it's a good thing to start. So Jay, your first game watching Liverpool live.
So for me, it was it was a bit like London buses. I hadn't been. I was born in '85, and the first time I ever went in the game was 1998. Waited for so long to go, I ended up going twice within a week, which was an incredible feeling. So yeah, first game was Valencia in the UEFA Cup at Anfield, and it was a diabolical 0-0 draw. It was such a poor game. It was very weird as well, because we actually played in our away kit as well at home, which again worked that out. It was a very strange and unique game. And then the following week was a 3-1 win against Fulham in the League Cup.
Okay, so are we talking late 90s here?
1998, yeah. October 20th, 1998 for the first one, and then the 27th of October, 98, which was ultimately my 13th birthday.
The Valencia one, is that the one where I think we win away to go through late 2-2. On? Oh, no, yeah. We draw. Yeah, I think Berger gets one. Playing at home at that time in Europe, I think that might have been a thing around that time. If you had to change shirts, the home team changed. I think that might have been a thing. People would listen. This chat will be able to tell you. Trust me. Was it a thing in 1998 where the home team had to play in their away jersey? But there shouldn't have been a clash. Valencia.
They played in orange. They played in orange that night as well. It was weird. I couldn't believe it. I thought the first time in Anfield, and we're not playing our red kit. But yeah, it was. I was just buzzing. Sat in the Anfield Road end, and yeah, I mean, didn't get to see a goal, but I just thought, well, I'm going again next week on my birthday. It's going to be boss, and yeah, 3-1 win against Fulham the week after. So it was a nice little 7 days for me, to be honest.
Yeah, and just on the jersey thing, like Liverpool are in all red, and Valencia at the time are still do play in white with black shorts and white socks, I think.
Yeah.
So there's no clash there. It's a bit weird.
No, it was so strange.
Yeah, so strange. So Valencia in 1998 0-0 draw. Halcyon days. Mick, Mick, what are you going to give us? Please don't tell us it was Valencia in the UEFA Cup in a 0-0 draw.
Valencia. No, I'm messing. No, I was talking to Jay about this earlier, and I went to a couple when I was younger, but I wouldn't class them as my first game because I was probably a bit too young. It was like I was born in '89, so it was going like early '90s. But my first one I proper remember was a 2-0 win against Arsenal in August '96. McManaman got both of them.
Okay.
And that was just like, yeah, when you look at the team back then, like Collymore and Fowler up front, just proper throwback. And just when you see McManaman's grabbing 2 goals at Anfield, just proper memories. Like,
yeah, and McManaman, a player that I think is usually underrated by the Liverpool fan base. Probably his exit from the club, leaving on a free, but he was very open about it. What a player! I was only watching last night. It might have been on LFC TV, or it might have been a tweet, and it was his equaliser against Celtic in the UEFA Cup at Parkhead, when he just takes the ball from the right back position and runs the length of the pitch and curls with him with his left foot. What a player! But can I ask you about Stan? I'll ask you both actually. Stan Collymore. Now, he's a bit mad now. He's off. The last time I came across him, I think he was he at the Euros or the World Cup, and he was going around with a load of people fighting. He wasn't fighting, don't get me wrong, he had a GoPro on him and he was trying to report on it. But I don't think I think he comes off harshly for a Liverpool career as well, when the majority of the time I thought he was really good.
Go on, Jay.
Go on, Mick. No, go on. You go first, mate. I went first last time. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he was just one of those characters, weren't he? Where you could tell he was a bit of a knobhead, but he was a good footy player as well. So I think it was just one of them. He was probably a bit too cocky before his time, and maybe had ideas above his station in terms of how good he actually was. But he was a good player for us at the end of the day. He scored some goals, and now he just loves ripping people on Twitter, doesn't he? He loves getting into all that shit. So
yeah,
we wouldn't know. I think we're blocked. I'm going to be honest. But go on, Jay.
Yeah, I think the thing was with Collymore, I remember reading Robbie Fowler's first book, and he did say that there was, even though they played well together on the pitch, there wasn't really that sort of dressing room atmosphere. And obviously at the time, it was heavily dominated by a lot of the Scouse lads in the team, with Macca and Fowler and McAteer being like sort of the main men in the changing room. But yeah, I don't think he fulfilled his potential at all at Liverpool. Or anywhere else, to be honest. He had good touch. He was a good striker, powerful up front, which is sort of like why we sort of liked him to Emil Heskey a few years later, and we sort of like, can he do the business in that sort of role? But yeah, he just didn't, like we've seen in the comments, he just didn't fit in.
Yeah, you know what? When he signed, I was delighted. I thought, like, big, strong, powerful, eye for goal, whether that's in the box or out of the box, and he scores a cracker against Sheffield Wednesday on his debut. Kevin Pressman is poor for it, I'm going to be honest, but it's a good goal. And you're right. He seems to play really well for a period, and then something just seems to go wrong. I remember listening to a podcast with Tony Warner on it, and Tony Warner was explaining how the smallest things, Stan Collymore would just erupt. If you sat on it, if you sat on a chair that he thought was his, to be absolute, war going on. Tony Warner wouldn't have been his biggest fan, let's be honest. But I think you're right. I don't think he fulfilled his potential at all. But listen, that's the way it goes. Joe, Lewis McGuinness asks, is All Leeds TV Joe coming on? There's Joe there.
All right, lads.
Joe, commiserations. A massive defeat tonight in the League Cup to Hull on penalties. They didn't put out anybody that was of any note, did they, from the weekend?
No, I think Rodrigo played, mate, up top. That was it, really. The rest were all fringe players, and if they're looking to come into the side at any point, then they didn't do themselves any favours tonight. To be fair, we could have lost about 3 or 4, but we got a last minute goal from a set piece. We were lucky, and then we lost 9-8 on pens. But honestly, it was absolute dire to watch. I'm not going to lie; it was pretty painful, to be honest.
Yeah. Somebody said.
But now we're Premier League, we can just say it's a Mickey Mouse Cup. We're not asked about it anymore.
Well,
we're Premier League now.
It clearly is, because when you look at the team they put out, they've different prerogatives this season. You know, I did mention a huge defeat, and somebody just says huge defeat question mark. I was messing. Listen, the League Cup, especially with the amount of games and the condensed season you're going to have, the League Cup is going to take even. You know, it's going to be even less important than it was in seasons gone by. Joe, we were just discussing the first game you've seen Liverpool live. Now, obviously for you, it's going to be Leeds. The lads are talking Valencia 98. They're talking Arsenal 96. What, for in Leeds terms, was your first game?
It was Luton, mate. Luton. That's what I'm saying. You're talking big games there. It was Luton in League One, you know. It was growing up, you know, like... didn't have much as a kid. Do you know what I mean? I always wanted to go. My mum never had no cash, you know. So it was only until I got my own money that I could actually afford to start going to games, you know. And I went with my brothers. We were in League One, and I remember I was in the south stand behind the goal. Casper Ankriggen saved a last-minute pen. And then not long after, I went Millwall. Millwall because it was brutal. Like. Some of the videos are still on YouTube now. It was a real eye-opener because when we got to the ground, the first buses I got absolutely smashed by the Millwall fans. Like there was 3 buses, they were trying to climb out and all sorts, and they had to frog march them back to the train station because the first buses refused to take them back after the game. It was quite a bit naughty, that, to be fair. You know, I was a young lad as well, thinking I was like running up the hill, going like that to the cops, like that, but not getting, do you know what I mean? Thinking I was big, but back then, not a great start, to be fair. Obviously, growing up as a kid, we had Premier League football when I was at school. Do you know what I mean? So Champions League and stuff like that, and then when I eventually got my own money to go, it was in League One. So there you go.
At least you've been, mate. At least you've You got to see them. You got to see them.
Free World said his first game was in 2003 against Blackburn. If anyone can remember their first games going to watch Liverpool at Anfield or away from home, let us know. In terms of myself, you know, living in Dublin, you know, supporting, my first memory of Liverpool was probably 1986-ish. It is 1986, the cup final in 86. But going across to Liverpool was something that, you know, a bit like Joe was saying, it's something that, you know, it's a pipe dream, to be honest with you, for a lot of people in Ireland at the time. You know, it was quite expensive to even get boats, very expensive to get on flights at the time, and we kind of lived off, you know, the football on the TV, the limited, it was limited to a certain point as well, with regards to how many channels you would have at the time. It wasn't all Sky Sports, BT Sports, and, you know, IPTV. It was limited in the early years of my life anyway, probably till the mid-90s. But the first game I went to Liverpool was actually April 98, I think it was. Liverpool beat Crystal Palace 2-1 at Anfield. Attilio Lombardo was playing for Crystal Palace. And I always remember the Crystal Palace fans in unison doing the calm down gesture from the Anfield Road end. And actually, I remember they were very poor, Crystal Palace. And Liverpool fans were singing going down, stuff like that. And Crystal Palace responded with so are we. So there was a good bit of humour there as well. Ivan Leonardson scored that day, and so did David Thompson. I think a young Marcus Bent, am I have it right? He used to play for Everton. Am I right? Yeah. I think he might have scored late on for Crystal Palace. So they're going back 22 odd years, but still remember it quite well. I remember sitting in the upper centenary, or the Kenny Dalglish as it's known now, and wearing the brightest orange jacket I could find to bring with me, thinking, well, if the camera, if the ball goes really high in the air and the camera follows it, I might be there. But yeah, it was one of those. So there's Paulie G.
Ivan Leonardson. I mean, what has happened to him? Where's he gone? He's just disappeared off the face of the planet.
Well, some of them do. Like, you know, Steve Finnan, I think, became an auctioneer.
Just about to say, where the fuck is Steve, by the way? Steve.
Yeah, I think he became an auctioneer, or like I think it was an auctioneer. I think, yeah. Some of them just do disappear. Like Jersey Dudek went off and done rally driving, didn't he? You see the ads on LFC TV where Vegard Hegem is just standing in a river fishing.
That's right.
So some of them just play football and then, you know, that's just their job, and they go off and do other things. Paulie G says his first game was Torres' first game versus Chelsea, the 1-1 draw.
Nice.
Nice game.
Nice.
Let me see. And he also says, here's one for you, Joe. He's seen Leeds play Shelbourne of Ireland, obviously, in Dublin, with Cantona and Tony Dorigo in the team.
Wow.
So there's one for you. That's going back early 90s.
Yeah, well, he went like after we won the league, didn't he? 91, 92, and across the Pennines. I mean, Tony Dorigo is still massively involved with the club. He does the match day hospitality and commentary and stuff like that at Ellen Road. Like, so, yeah, quite an experience that.
Well, people I mentioned, like Paulie G says there, Shelbourne with Cantona and Tony Drago. At the time, a lot of English clubs would come over and play Shelbourne because they had a stadium in Dublin that held around 10,000. It was an all-seater, and that was kind of unknown in Ireland at the time, even in the professional game. So they seemed to get a lot of glamour friendlies. I went to plenty of them. Liverpool playing there as well. Tony Dorigo, geez, that brings back memories. It really does. Let me see. There's a good few people coming in there with our force games and stuff. But if you think of more, throw them in there. And sure, I'll talk about them later if they keep coming in. David Hornby says he was at the 9-0 versus Crystal Palace. Of course, the same season that we got beaten in the semi-final at Villa Park of the FA Cup 4-3. Toyland Shane says his first game is 89 FA Cup quarter-final against Brentford at Anfield. We won 4-0. Of course, Liverpool go on to 89. They go on to win the FA Cup that season against Everton. Lads, the next thing I want to... Tom Boland says Leon Artson, the last he heard, he's in Norway coaching. So there you go. You see, people in this chat, they know their stuff. Let me see. Kieran B says, and this is the last one for the minute, his first game I seen was Anfield. It was in my early teens, a pre-season game. Collymore and David James giving signatures after the game. Let me see. Right. Topics. The next one. And the next one I want to talk about is, and it's interesting, it'll be interesting to get a Leeds kind of supporters view on this, or I suppose just any opposition supporters view on this. And the topic I want to go to is Mo Salah. And Mo Salah signs for Liverpool in the summer of 2017. We're currently one game into this season, and of course he had a massive impact on the game at the weekend. He currently sits on 97 goals for Liverpool in all competitions, I think off 156 games, whatever. It's 150 odd. I think it's 156, and it's a ridiculous record, to be perfectly honest with you. He has, I think last season was the only season in the first 3 seasons where he didn't score 20 plus league goals. He got 19. Just so people know, and he's torn her up since he got to Liverpool. He's probably one of the most recognisable faces in football right now across the world, and he's probably one of the most wanted players in the world if he went on the market. But one thing that struck me is, and I think it was Gary Neville's comments that kind of struck me at the weekend, where he said, I'm looking at him now and he's this and he's that, and I'm kind of going, have you not been watching him for 3 years? Jay, I'll start with you. Mo Salah, does he get enough credit overall for you from A, Liverpool fans, and B, fans of other clubs, or even the media, pundits, etc.?
Oh, wow. I'd say I don't think he does overall across every bit of medium there. I really don't think he does, and it's really unfair. And for him to score a hat-trick on the opening day, and he's a fourth season wonder, isn't he? You know what I mean? Everyone has been questioning every season towards the back end, Salah hasn't done this, Salah hasn't done that. And what frustrates me the most is when Salah's name gets thrown around to fuel the fire to sign a different player. And I have a bee in my bonnet about that anyway. It's quite disrespectful. But no, I don't think he does get the credit he deserves. I think definitely that first season he did, obviously, because of the records that he set and the records he was chasing, with Ian Rush and stuff like that. And I think he scored 40 odd goals in that season, was just incredible. But because he didn't hit the same amount of goals the second season, everyone considered that a flop, whereas every other striker in the league would consider that a successful season. But he set the bar so high for himself in that first season that everything else was bound to be a drop-off in a lot of other people's eyes. Whereas from a Liverpool fan perspective, there hasn't been that drop-off, and I don't think he gets the appreciation he deserves from everybody else, but they don't watch him every single week, do they? So we see the contribution that he brings to the club. And I think a lot of people might get frustrated with Mo Salah because he can be a little bit greedy at times, but from a striker's perspective, I just think he just wants to put the ball in the back of the net. But yeah, he definitely doesn't get the credit he deserves, and it was questioned in pre-season quite a bit of whether Salah was right for this team in that sort of way. But no, he's incredible, and I wouldn't sell him. I wouldn't swap him for anybody.
Fair, yeah, I think everything you say is absolutely spot on. Mick, when you look at Mo Salah and people are starting to mention his age. He's 28. He's in his absolute prime. And they're saying, oh, maybe one more season and then he'll go. And is there anything there for you to suggest, Mick, that he would go? People have said, oh, Ronald Koeman wants him at Barcelona. Yeah, listen, I want to play for Liverpool, but that doesn't happen. Do you see this a time when he leaves, or do you think, no, you're getting 2 or 3 good seasons out, and that's at the least, I suppose?
Yeah, like you said, he's 28 now. He's in his 4th season. In times gone by, when I've spoken to Jay about this and other podcasts, like, we're one of the best teams in the world now. Whereas in the past, where we've had the likes of Torres and Suarez, we've not been the best team in the world, and we've had a gem in one of the best strikers in the world. So they're using those as a type of platform to go on and make a bigger move, because they want to. If they're South American, they want to go and play for Real Madrid or Barcelona, or they want to go and win La Liga's Champions League. And at the time when we had those other players, we weren't doing that. But now we are doing that. We've got this Mo Salah in this team, who for me is one of the best in the world. And like Jay said, he doesn't get quite the credit he deserves. Like, I think he got 44 goals overall in his first season in all competitions, like in 52 games. Like those type of numbers, it's always going to be a drop off. And for me, he doesn't get the credit he deserves. And like I said, I don't think there's anywhere he could go. Like, if he stays another couple more years, he's going to be 30. Then maybe he wants to move to Spain or whatever and try and win a La Liga over there or something like that, But for me, he's won the Premier League, he's won the Champions League with us. I don't know why he'd want to move and try and do that somewhere else, when, for me, where he is now is probably the best position he's in to do that again, if he wants to go and win more Champions Leagues.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to this in a minute on a little theory about Salah, or maybe a question for you, but I'll leave it for a minute because I want to get Joe's views on this, because look, Joe, you've seen him play at the weekend. I think he gets the first penalty because his shot is blocked by the arm of a Leeds defender. His finish for his second is ridiculous. There's so much power behind it, and then he has the nerve to stand up and slot a second penalty. But you're a Leeds fan, Joe, but Salah is seen every week on TV, and so A, what did you make of him at the weekend? And B, do you think over the last couple of years he's a player that you look at and go, he's just world class? There's no doubts about it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you look at the Ronaldos and Messis, no one's up there with them, are they? But you know what I mean? He's definitely in that next group down, I would say. Do you know what I mean? And just from my own point of view on Saturday, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Maybe there's been a lot made in the past about he has to have a number of chances before he'll get one. He's not as clinical, maybe. But from what I've seen on Saturday, I mean, if Salah's not on top form, you maybe don't win that game. I think, the rest of them were a little bit quiet, but Salah was just unreal. It was a little bit frustrating, actually, watching it and seeing it back. It's like every time he went back in front, he had a grin on his face as if to say, I knew we were going to get back in front anyway. I don't know. It was this little bit of don't worry about it, man, we're back in front. And there was that little bit of arrogance there. But I think you need that as well, man. And I thought he was absolutely fantastic on Saturday. And if he continues in that vein, man, just being as clinical as he was. I mean, he already hasn't he? But any sort of questions, I think, are unfounded for me. I thought he was brilliant.
I think one thing that's held against him is the Chelsea stint.
Yeah.
And yeah. I think that's being held against him for the majority of his career, and especially his Liverpool career, because when Liverpool fans talk him up, or a pundit or an ex-player talk him up, the reaction you usually get is, but he flopped at Chelsea, and I'm kind of going, yeah, Chelsea didn't work. Kevin De Bruyne flopped at Chelsea.
yeah.
And he goes off, I think, to Fiorentina on loan. He's good there. He's a year at Roma on loan. Then he's signed permanently, and then he ends up at Liverpool. And I can't understand why we're even mentioning the Chelsea stint, because if you look at Mo Salah, take out the Chelsea bit, and don't even go back as far as Basel when he was playing for them. His form over the last 4 or 5 years, possibly 6, is is unbelievable for a wide player. Unbelievable. And to sit on 97 goals for Liverpool Football Club at 150 odd games is mental. I haven't looked up the stats. I don't know how quick Robbie Fowler, Michael Owen, got to 100 goals. Fernando Torres didn't get to 100 goals. Either did Luis Suarez. You know, I just think it's phenomenal what Mo Salah is doing. Jay, we're looking at him at 28, and we're looking. A couple of people have mentioned maybe he dropped deeper as he gets older, you know, because he has got quite a creative brain about him. You know, he's not just pacing and directing and you know, powerful finishes. He kind of has it all when it comes to finishing. Maybe his right foot isn't as strong as he'd like it to be, but listen, how many players hit well off both feet? Is there an argument that as we see him progress over the next year or two, that he ends up becoming more of a centre forward, a bit like Ronaldo ended up becoming?
There's definitely an argument for it, absolutely. My thought then is you put him at centre forward, what happens to Bobby Firmino? Because Bobby Firmino in that pocket of being the main striker up front is so vital to this team. And if that's going to happen, then we're going to have to completely change the way we play. You never know, you know, Klopp might want to he might want to change it over the next couple of years, and he might want to bring Bobby a bit further back into the number 10 role instead of being up front. But Salah can play there. It's been tried and tested, and it does work. But obviously, it does work a lot better when Bobby Firmino is playing that main striker. So I think that's a question that does involve Bobby as well. Because if you're moving Salah into the middle, then you've got to move Bobby. And the fear just shudders through me, the fact that Bobby might leave, or we take him out of a position where he might not have a big of effect. Don't get me wrong. Bobby could probably play in that number 10 role, no problem. But again, another player that goes very underrated, considering, you know, everyone has a go at him. So he's a striker and he doesn't score as many goals. Well, he's been fantastic for us, and he makes Mane and Salah play better, and we all know that.
Oh, we absolutely do. There was an argument on our podcast on Monday, the forum, about talking about Bobby Firmino, and the biggest thing that came out of it was take him out of the team and let's see how we get on. And the other thing is, you know, he absolutely does make players around him work, Bobby Firmino. Flash Gordon has a great idea. I'm all for it. Bring in Sancho, move Salah up front, and move Bobby into the 10. What we could do is we could start a GoFundMe like the United fans have, and see if we can get to the 108 million before they do. And we'd have a bit of crack along the way. But listen, that's Mo Salah. I think looking at it, I think he's starting. He's always got recognition, but I think I think people are starting to recognise he's at his absolute, you know, the peak of his powers at the moment. And like Joe says, if he continues in that vein, you know, I think, you know, we're not asking for hat tricks every week, but if he goes through this league season in a goal less than every 2 games, you know, you're Liverpool are in for a show for everything if he continues at that rate. It really is. Now, I asked Joe on tonight, and when I asked Joe on tonight, I said, Joe, listen, we need to bring some topics to the table, okay? And he sent me back just a link, and I think it was one word under that link, and the word was Lampard, right? Now, Joe has been on, this is Joe's second appearance on this show. He made a big impression on the first one because everyone was just going, Joe really doesn't like that Lampard fella. We really like him, right? And I went, don't worry, I'll get Joe back on. We'll have a proper discussion about him. And it all stemmed from Bielsa, in a bush, well, not personally, but I have it as in a bush, spying on Frank Lampard's derby. And I think Lampard's derby knocked Leeds out of the playoffs that season, and Lampard's given it the big one at Elland Road and stuff like that. And Joe, I want to start with you. You just don't rate this fella whatsoever, do you?
It's not even that. It's the fact that he's at Chelsea as well, and obviously he's a Chelsea legend. You know, our rivalry with Chelsea goes way back, like 1970. You know, it's one of the naughtiest games in English football. They say that FA Cup final, and from that point, it just sort of steamrolled from there. So we're not big fans of Chelsea anyway. And the fact that Lampard dropped down the division into the Championship, and that happened, you know, the whole Spygate saga happened, and he's the media's baby, I think, and they give him a lot of favour. So obviously, if this had happened against Birmingham City, for example, nothing would have been made of it, but because it was against Frank Lampard, you know, and this fallacy that he did a good job at Derby Every manager that comes into Derby takes them into the playoffs. The season before they were in the playoffs, he took them backwards. You know, yes, he got them in. I mean, we schooled him. Bielsa schooled him, and he'll do it again. And I've even put a bet on it that we'll beat Chelsea over 2 fixtures, home and away. But that's just me, because tactically, I don't think he's all that either. And yeah, he's the media's baby, so obviously that happened. I mean, people forget when he was at Derby, he had a cash book then as well. He was able to bring in Harry Wilson and pay you guys loan fees. We looked at Harry Wilson, but Liverpool have a clause, I think, which is a really smart clause. You might tell me different, where if they don't play, you have to pay Liverpool a fee.
Correct.
And we weren't willing to do that, because with Bielsa, if you're not going to play, and that's why we never moved on Harry Wilson, and he went to Derby, and then he brought in Mason Mount, and he brought in Timo because he had his Chelsea connections. So there's a massive love in, because it was Frank Lampard's Derby County. You know, it's now Wayne Rooney's Derby County, and it's just a little bit frustrating. And then when we come up and he gets a job that he doesn't deserve, and he gets plaudits thrown at him again to say that, all this youth, he's a great English manager, he's took Chelsea forward. No, he didn't. He took them backwards. They finished lower than they did under Sarri. They got to 2 finals and lost them both. They conceded more goals than Brighton. You know, defensively, they're a shambles. But he's given extra time. And then recently, he's now said he doesn't want Chelsea to become an academy club. He never wanted them to become an academy club, and he now wants to start spending the cash. But last season, it was all about bringing the youth through, and all this tosh that the media, he's great English manager bringing the youth. Now he's saying, and that for me was a real paradox. But then I thought, well, why wouldn't anyone want to become an academy club? Like that, surely that's the answer, so that you don't have to go out and spend all this cash. Wouldn't you rather have talent coming off your, the conveyor belt, as opposed to having to go splash 250 million or whatever he spent this time? The wages must be going through the roof. Like, I was watching Sky Sports, I don't even know his name, and he's going, let's talk about the Lampard effect. The fact he can bring in all these players with one phone call. No, it's the fact he's willing to pay them 250, 300 grand a week. Nothing to do with Lampard. And I genuinely think he has to get off the ground running, regardless of him being a legend, because of the money he's spent. And if he doesn't, and they weren't great against Brighton, let's be honest, they weren't great, and I don't know, I just don't like the man, but I'm not a fan of Chelsea either, so it's that added bit to it as well. But yeah, I hope you got my thoughts there from my rambling.
Yeah, well, you're definitely not on the fence. I can confirm that anyway. Mick, Frank Lampard goes to Derby, gets his break in managerial career at Derby, and like Joe says, he has got contacts. He brings the likes of Mason Mount in, Harry Wilson, as being mentioned, Tomori and stuff like that, and he doesn't get them up. And you're kind of, he's at Derby, and you're kind of going, well, first go, not too bad, stuff like that. And then the Chelsea job comes up. Is it one of those where he was the right person at the time for Chelsea, but he could turn out to be the wrong person for the direction that they're going? Because he always had, like Joe says, he has that backdrop of, Chelsea can't spend. He's bringing through youth, the likes of Bobby Gilmore, Tomori, Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham. There might be one or two others that I've forgotten. And he always had that to fall back on, and you've seen them suffer, I think, midway through last season, where they just couldn't keep it going. And, they end up in 4th place. And should you stay there? I don't know. Leicester, the whole Leicester thing still annoys me. But could it be a case, Mick, where it happens now, where Chelsea, Abramovich has seen a loophole here, where FFP has dropped, it's out the window for a year or two. He had a transfer ban. They've had all this cash rolling in, Hazard, stuff like that. Now they have signed a couple of players, but is it a case of where this could get too big for him very, very quickly?
It definitely could. I think at the time when the job came up, he was obviously doing a job at Derby, and it was a risk on Chelsea's behalf, I think, because we could have easily been in that situation a couple of years previous to Klopp, where maybe if Gerrard was a bit further along in his management career, we might have thought, we'll take a risk on a club legend as well and see what happens. And whenever a team does that, you always risk that playing legacy, where Lampard did so well for Chelsea as a player, come back to haunt him, and it could, if that could happen in a few years, especially like you touched on all the players he's signed, and like Joe said, like he's made all this big kerfuffle last year about promoting youth and giving youth a chance, and then now he's changed his tune and he wants to get out the checkbook and try and compete with the big boys like us in City, because like he's got to, really, because that's the way football's going. That's what Chelsea need to do in order to compete with us at the moment. But no, I think he's a good manager. It's just like the whole thing with Klopp as well, like with the way he was saying to Klopp, you've only won one title and you're giving it the big one, that whole thing on the touchline and stuff like that. It's like, well, yeah, but really he hasn't won anything as a manager. I know he was a fucking boss player, fair enough. He was a great player and he won loads of stuff. Fair dues. He done well. But as a manager, he's done fuck all. So that shout to Klopp for me was a bit like, well, you've got your past and you'll always be respected for what you did as a player, but as a manager, speaking to a well-respected world-class manager like Klopp, like that was just kind of like for me, I didn't think he was like that from what I'd seen, like obviously in press conferences and like when he does his interviews and stuff like that. I didn't think he was like that type of character, but it turns out he is, and it just makes me not want Chelsea to do that well even more, just as a result of that. And I think they like you said, they've signed some good players, and to be fair, that makes a lot more pressure on their backs. Like the likes of Werner, Havertz, these are players that 6 months ago we Liverpool fans were clamouring for. Like definitely Timo Werner. We all thought the deal was done, and then it turns out not, because we didn't have the money, or we didn't want to spend the money, whatever. And then he goes to Chelsea, and yeah, it was a bit of a sour one. And then you look at the likes of Havertz, who's done so well in Bundesliga. It was the same type of scenario where Chelsea have done well to get him, to be honest, but like you said, that makes the rod for their back a lot bigger. And if they don't start producing goods quickly on the field, like Joe said, they weren't great at the weekend. They stumbled over the line. They need to results quicker because they've opened the checkbook, and if it doesn't happen as soon, is Abramovich going to be as lenient as he would with anyone else?
No, absolutely not.
Mm.
He won't be. Ancelotti had, I would argue, the best Chelsea side you've seen since Abramovich arrived, and when it just turned bad in any way, he just got rid of Ancelotti. Zula Warrior says, what is this word, the blatant Chelsea bashing word is panel so salty? Sounds like Chelsea jealousy to me and fear from Liverpool. No, it actually intrigues me, and it's and the bit that Mick says there with the whole rivalry the media are trying to build up with Klopp is, it's a bit fake, to be honest with you. I think that they're trying to make something that's not there. Frank Lampard did have a go at Klopp at Anfield on the night the Liverpool were crowned, or given the trophy as Premier League champions. And he has come out and said afterwards he regrets it, which is absolutely fair enough. People say stuff at the time. You know, Alan Pardew was headbutting fellas on the side of the pitch, wasn't he? So, and he regretted that. So you're allowed to do stuff and it happens, and then you can turn around and go, listen, I regret that. And that's absolutely fine. It just intrigues me that it seemed like a really smart move by Chelsea to bring Lampard in and say, listen, we have a transfer ban. We need someone to come in that has a high standing within the club, even though he hasn't played there for a number of years. We want to progress young players. We are limited in what we can do with regards to the squad, but we feel that you could do something. And they would all, Chelsea owners and whatever else, would always get a bit of leniency from the fans if they had the likes of a Lampard there, as opposed to, I don't know, a Gus Hiddink, right? So that's what intrigues me. What intrigues me now is that I think Chelsea have got ahead of Lampard a little bit. I think Lampard would have looked at this and went, listen, first season, bring in youth, add a couple, keep the youth there, progress them, maybe look at a 2-3 year project. And that project has been put in the bin. And it's being put in the bin because of the COVID situation, of Abramovich deciding, well, you know, we've had a transfer ban, we have got money sitting there, plus we can spend wherever we want, you know, and I've got an appetite back here. And he sees a chance to close a gap. He genuinely sees a chance to close a gap, and that's what he's gone and done. My argument here is that could it get ahead of Lampard? Could it become something where Lampard ends up with all these superstars around him? And listen, he was a superstar himself as a footballer, but it's completely different when you're a manager and you have to manage all these people rather than just play alongside them. And that's why it's not a salty thing for me. I think they've been amazing in the transfer market. Amazing. To sign Kai Havertz, Ben Chilwell is a really good signing. Thiago Silva is an excellent signing. I believe an excellent signing. Who else have they got? Timo Werner, of course. They went and stumped up a hell of a lot of money to take him from Liverpool, from the grasp of Liverpool, I suppose, as Liverpool looked at the COVID situation. And listen, they're talking about a goalkeeper now. I think they've been very, very good, brilliant, in fact, in the transfer market. But my thing would be, instead of watching Chelsea and how they progress this season, it's probably better to watch how Lampard progresses this season and take them as two separate entities, because I have a sneaky feeling that not only if it doesn't go wrong, they could come third and I think he could get sacked. That's how I put it. They came fourth last season. They could make progress and he could get sacked, because Abramovich will go, I've put all this money in and I need someone that actually can take this squad and do something with it. And that's where it comes with Frank Lampard. Jay, the rivalry with Klopp, it's just something in the media that's driven, isn't it? I think, will it fizzle out after this Sunday?
I think so. I mean, depending on the result, obviously, but I do think it'll fizzle out. I think all that footage will be the Friday, Saturday after the press conferences of what happened on the touchline at the game at Anfield, and it'll all get brought back up again. They'll both be asked about it in the press conference. Both of them will bash it away with like, listen, we don't care, we're not bothered about that anymore. It's a new season now, who gives a shit? And the media loved the Liverpool-Chelsea rivalry. They loved it in the mid-2000s when we were playing them like every other week in loads of different competitions. So anything to ignite that again. But as a Liverpool fan, am I bothered about Chelsea? No. Yes, they've made some good signings, absolutely, but there's still a lot of problems in that Chelsea side, and they're going to score goals with the forward line that they've got. Like Joe said before, they struggled against Brighton a little bit, but it's going to be a good game on Sunday. I'm really looking forward to it at the end of the day, but I'm not particularly worried about Chelsea the same way I haven't been worried about them for a couple of years. But the media will hype it up because, again, it's Liverpool and Chelsea. It's Klopp versus Lampard. Like, they've got some bitter rivalry. Personally, I just think because everybody loves Jurgen Klopp, they're trying to find an enemy for him because Klopp's such a lovely guy. That's what they're trying to do. But yeah, it'll fizzle out after this weekend, mate, and there'll be another thing. There's always something else to try and get Klopp angry, but he takes it in stride, smiles, and has that bloody great big laugh of his and carries on.
We're going to do a preview on Friday with regards to Liverpool or Chelsea v Liverpool, and of course the rest of the Premier League on our Friday forecast show. But it's one I haven't given a lot of thought to Sunday yet. But I better start because it's Wednesday now, isn't it? So it's getting closer, and it's one of those where I'm never sure going to play Chelsea ever. It's a bit like playing United. You're never sure what's going to happen. I think it's simply because I think they're two teams that meet each other a lot. They seem to play each other all the time. You know what I mean? We always seem to get them in the Cup or the Champions League, and obviously the league game. So it's one of those where they know each other inside out, regardless of personnel. It's just one of those. I want to talk a little bit about the promoted sides in a minute, but quickly, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat here. There's a couple of Chelsea fans in watching, which is great. And listen, if you're in there, enjoy it. Just say what you want. We'll give our opinion. We don't block. We don't hinder anyone's opinion in here. That's what football is all about. But I just want to get quickly our top 4 predictions in order, right? And of course, people will clip this and get back to you at the end of the season. But Joe, I'm going to come to you first in order. Give us your top 4 prediction.
Boys, I hate to say it, but I've got City winning the league, to be honest. You second. Bold one, I said Arsenal third.
Okay.
And Chelsea in fourth, which is not ideal. But I don't know. Listen, guys, you've seen a lot more Premier League football than me. Like with Leeds, my concentration is on the division that we're in, and I watch the. Do you see what I'm saying? So I made a comment about the Arsenal, and everyone laughed at me. But I don't know. I've just got this feeling that they'll do well this season. Especially, I really rate the signing of Willian and what a performance he had as well on his debut. To be fair, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think City might pip. I just think, especially if they do get Koulibaly, and him and Laporte. I don't know. Laporte was out for a while last season. I don't know. I think they'll go again. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how they get started. Because you absolutely blew everyone out of the park last year. And there's nothing to say you won't do it again. Because Saturday showed, for me, that's title win. That's champions winning that game. Do you know what I mean? You never out of it, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? I guess in your eyes, you probably thought we were always going to win the game. Do you know what I mean? Regardless, with 2 minutes to go, you still got 3 points, and that's what champions do. That's what we were doing when we were in the championship. We realised now we're gonna lose a few, but we should take some scalps as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm excited for it. To be fair, it'll be a good running. I think that, like you said, there's you and City way above everyone else, but I think the rest are getting a lot closer again now, and it's going to be nice to see. Maybe not Tottenham; they seem to be going backwards, but it's nice. Not for you guys, but it's nice for me to see Everton doing well as well. So it's getting good, man. Leicester, all them teams now. I think it's getting bigger. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. I don't mind Everton being good. I'm being honest. I think it's good for football in Liverpool to have two good teams. Don't get me wrong. The stuff that goes on at Everton on a week-to-week basis is fucking brilliant. But in fairness, we have seen over the years, well, going back a long time, there were two clubs that pushed each other. Especially during the 80s. Everton were fantastic during the 80s, and they were genuinely two teams that pushed each other week on week. So, Everton, very good against Spurs. We'll have a little word about Spurs before we go as well, but Everton were very good, and I'm looking forward to what they do against West Brom, who are a promoted side, and looked horrendous against Leicester, I'm going to be honest. Mick, top four in order, please.
I'm going to go Liverpool top. Surprise. Going to go City second. I'm going to go Chelsea third, and I'm going to go Arsenal fourth.
Okay, so that's two. Yeah, that's two years now that I haven't mentioned United in the top four, which is interesting. Is there any reason for that?
I think it's just because I'm a bitter bastard. I don't want them to be top four, to be honest.
Okay, so it's nothing to do with football.
Ollie's like Frank though as well, isn't he? Ollie's gash as well, man. Come on, man. He can't be instilling anyone with any confidence in the dressing room, I don't think.
Well,
it'll be a close run for fourth between Arsenal and United, I think.
Okay. I'll get on to United as well in a minute. Jeez, I'm getting onto a lot of clubs now in a minute, but we will. Why not? Sure, what else are we doing? Jay, give us your top four.
Well, I'm going to be that arsehole who's going to pick United, aren't I? Mine is Liverpool to win the league, obviously. City second, Chelsea third, and yeah, I agree with Mick. It's going to be close, but I do think United have got to be in the bonnet this season. And I do think that they could sneak into the top four. It pains me to say, but it's a win-win situation, because if I'm jinxing United, then happy days, they're not going to make top four, and I look like a fucking hero. But no, I do think that that United could sneak that fourth place. They'll have a bee in a bonnet about missing out. Bruno Fernandes does look like a top quality player, and he'll be there for a full season, and then I think he'll give them the kick up the arse that they need. But again, it's not a case of trying to be completely rose-tinted glasses on these types of things. At the end of the day, they still have to sign a decent player, and I think if they get Sancho over the line, then it could be something special for them this season to get fourth, which again is a great sentence for me to say, the fact that that's all they're aiming for, which is brilliant, instead of league titles. And how the tables have turned, and I absolutely love it. But yeah, I wouldn't be disappointed if United fell away on it, but it'll be tough. But Arsenal are definitely they're ones to watch this season. Okay.
A couple of people have mentioned Wolves as a dark horse for the top four. I think they were very good last season. Did they make Europe?
Yeah.
They are in Europe this season?
Sure they did.
Okay.
Did they?
If
Let's
they didn't,
check. We'll double check.
I think that might have been the thing that hurt them towards the back end of last season. And if they aren't in Europe, I think Wolves are definitely one to watch out for. My top four: Liverpool, Manchester City, United, Chelsea. I know a lot of people are talking Arsenal up, and I see where they're going. I like Arteta. I like what he's trying to do, but I still think there's too many unreliable players on that side. Now they're selling a goalkeeper to Villa today, and I think they might be trying to fund something. If it is party of Atletico Madrid, I think they're onto an absolute winner. But I still think it's an awful lot. It's a big ask to Arsenal to go and do top four. in Arteta's first full season, despite how impressive they are. Aubameyang is brilliant. I think Lacazette doesn't do enough over the season for me. Pepe, I don't know. Willian, really impressive, as Joe says at the weekend, but Willian does that. And I rate Willian, don't get me wrong. I would have liked Liverpool to take him on a free, but I would have liked him to take him on a free as a backup. And the reason that being is because Willian can disappear. And he can disappear for months. And then he can come back and, like, he done it last season where he was outrageously good away at Spurs in a win for Chelsea. And then, where is he? I don't know. So you'd have to watch Willian over the first 10 games and see, has he got some sort of pep back in his step, you know. A change of scenery has really, really helped him. But I still think that'll be the top four. On United, they just get so many fucking penalties. No, I'm only messing. They have improved. They have improved. They're following this Sancho thing, and I don't know if they're going to get him. I still think they will. And if they do, they look extremely good going forward. But I would still harbour doubts about them at the back. Wan-Bissaka is really good defensively, but if you're having that many attackers on your side, you're going to need Wan-Bissaka to back them up. And I just don't think he's a brilliant defender. I just don't think he has it going forward. I've doubts over Maguire, Lindelof, De Gea. We don't know. We don't know what way he's going to show up this season. I still think there's a bit there for United. And listen, midfield, Van der Beek is a brilliant signing for them. So it's one of those where we'll have, you'll know after about 10 games. You know when people say, oh, don't look at the table after 10 games. This is definitely a season to look at the table after 10 games, because then you will see, is anybody really stepping up, you know, and we get a good idea then. Spurs, somebody mentioned Spurs there a minute ago. Linked with Troy Deeney, linked with Gareth Bale. Is it Reguilon that they're trying to sign, and they're going to take this buyback clause from Real Madrid? They don't seem to have a plan for me, and they looked very, very lethargic against Everton. Joe, I think it was you that said they're going backwards. Is the Jose Mourinho effect coming into effect a little bit early, or is it just one of those where you go, listen, he'll get a couple of players in, he'll get them motoring? Because he under Mourinho last season, their form between him coming in and the end of the season was actually top four form. Could he be a surprise package and storm the top four? He's muted, is he?
Sorry, boys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was the first time they've been beaten by Everton since 2012. Yeah. So, like, it sort of gives you an idea. Like, I know that's only one fixture, but it's one they normally win, especially at home as well. I just think the signings, maybe, I mean, Bale's exciting, but, like, Højbjerg and Doherty, I don't think it instills, like, they're not inspiring signings. This is Tottenham. Right, this is not from mine, but from, you know, other people. They'll be saying, we're Tottenham. Yeah, if you look at what Everton did, let's say, for example, the business they've done, you know, James Rodriguez, Allen, etc. They're exciting signings. If I'm a Tottenham fan, I look at it and I think, Højbjerg and Doherty, really? Do you know what I mean? That's just my opinion. And I think, you know, you've got Kane there, who's like, for me, he must be looking now and thinking, I can't stay here. Because he's going to go through his career and not win. No. And he's up there. He should be up there with the best. Do you know what I mean? And this whole documentary thing as well, from what I'm hearing from a few Tottenham fans, it was a bit like Mourinho was trying to regenerate and give off this new image and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if it's really genuine and if things are all rosy in the camp, as the documentary at parts would have you believe. The Dele Alli situation, I mean, he was unreal when he first came in, but then he took him off at half time. That's not great. That's not a great start to the season, is it? You know, taking Dele off. I don't know. I don't think they'll do much, but it'll be interesting to see how it pans out, boys, because, I mean, what will Daniel Levy do? Because I guess I was saying the other day on a podcast I was on, he'll probably go after one of the cups, you know, and get silverware and that. But is that a successful season for Tottenham if they were to miss out on the top four and get the Capital One Cup? Do you know what I mean? Is it really? But I don't know. I'm not convinced, if I'm honest. He's of an old breed now, Mourinho. Football's changed. You know, if you look, I know Bielsa's been about for ages, but look at him and look at the breath of fresh air. Look at Wolves, look at Sheffield United, Chris Wilder, you know, with his overlapping centre-backs, and Mourinho's still in that old... Before Mourinho, there was a time when you still had like the likes of Pardew and Allardyce and all these getting jobs. They're now gone, you know, and then we've moved on. And now Mourinho, I think his era of man, that's moved on as well now, in my opinion. And you know, it's all about free flowing and all that sort of stuff. And you just don't get that with Mourinho, do you? And I don't know where they go from here, to be honest. But it's only one game, though. Do you know what I mean? It's just that it's only one game, but, you know, we'll have to wait and see.
Jay, for you, Spurs, not mentioned by any of us to go into the top four, is it one of those where they make Europa League and that's probably the best you're looking at? Because the Arsenal Fan Circle channel says there, Spurs don't win cups, it's over.
Got a bit of a point though, hasn't he, really? Yeah, I think the Europa League is what they should be aiming for. I think the squad that they've got, there's a lot of talented players in there, but as a team at the minute, they haven't been the same. You know, they had a really good run to the Champions League final. Something happened in that Champions League final. I'm sure someone will remember what happened in the Champions League final against Spurs. So we sort of broke them after that. We have a habit of breaking teams, which is great. Yeah, I think Europa League, mate, is what they've got. It's a little bit of a rebuilding job, and just summed it up perfectly there. You know, Kane's trapped, and if this Bale thing is actually true, it looks like it is. It is true. He's a quality player, isn't he? And
it looks like he's just... A couple of people have said there it's confirmed. I've just looked up Sky Sports there quickly, and it just said that he's awaiting permission to fly to London. So
that's massive.
It looks
it's massive for the fans, isn't it?
It's huge, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Yeah. Arsenal Fan Circle channel, who watches this quite a bit actually. I don't know the guy's real name. He'll probably tell me in the chat. But he did say to me earlier, keep underestimating Arsenal. I don't underestimate them. I think what they're trying to do is very good. I think I've said this before. They're getting away from what they thought they were for about 15 years, and I like that. You know, they thought they were a certain thing from 2004 up till Arteta turned up, and they weren't. And now Arteta is putting a stamp on it. He seems to be bringing in the players he wants to play the way they want. My only argument is that they may need a couple more bodies on top of what they have, and I'm not talking just this window, I'm talking January and the window next year, to really implement what he's trying to do, because he is still dealing with players there that are quite unreliable. You could put Xhaka in there, you know, their centre halves are quite unreliable, their goalkeeper's decent but has got a rick on him every now and then. That's all I'm saying with regards to Arsenal. I think what he's attempting to do and the project he's trying to put in place here is actually very exciting if you're an Arsenal fan, in my opinion. But I just think I wouldn't like Arsenal to... I'll put it this way. If he gets to Christmas and he's 10 points off the top four, I don't want Arsenal fans overreacting and going, Arteta has to go, we need such a... You don't want that. He's the absolute epitome of someone that needs time, in my opinion, because what he's shown already is very refreshing. He seems to have a direction what he's doing, but it's not going to be done overnight. And I'm saying it as a Liverpool fan that has seen it all, right? With projects and 5 years of this and do this, and I've seen fucking Roy Hodgson, so argument over. So, but give him time. I think he's the absolute epitome of someone that needs time. Mick, Spurs. Have I spoken to you about Spurs?
Not yet.
Would you like to talk about Spurs, Mick?
Yeah, I'd just echo what the boys said. Really, like Joe said, the signing that they made, like for me, Doherty, how we say his name, I think he's a good signing from Wolves, to be fair. But like Højbjerg, that's just like so middle of the road signing. You're like, what is that? It's like, what's he giving you in there in that midfield? And then you look at the team he played against Everton. They're playing Eric Dyer. Apparently, he wants to be known as a centre back now. They're playing Eric Dyer centre back. And they've got Davin.
Sorry, just to ask you quickly, Mick. Did anything ever happen to Eric Dyer for getting into the crowd and start throwing digs?
I don't know.
I don't know either, to be fair.
I think that happened, and then I think coronavirus came along and they went, it's all right, Eric, relax. Grant.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with it, but yeah, apparently, didn't he get like 40 grand fine or something like
all right, okay. So there's no ban, like?
No, I think actually, weirdly, I think I was watching League of Their Own today, and he mentioned he got like a 40k ban for it, but I think that was it. just fucking crazy, really, when you think about it. But yeah, when you think of him, he's like a midfielder, and he apparently told Mourinho he wants to play centre back now. You've got Davinson Sanchez sat on the bench, who for me is a really good centre back, and he's picking Eric Dyer over him. They've got some good players like going forward, like Son, Harry Kane, Moura, Ali. Those four are as good as anything in the league, really. But it's just getting them in the right system and then getting a good defence behind them. That's going to be able to keep the goals out, and I don't think they can do that. That's the thing. They're in this phase where they need a bit of investment. But then, like Joe said, I think Mourinho's a bit of a dinosaur now. He's not moved on with the times. He's stuck in 2004, like trying to have a scrap with Rafa still. Like he's still stuck there. And it's like, well, footy's moved on, mate. Like
he's ringing Rafa. He's ringing Rafa, and Rafa's telling him, "Listen, the time difference over here is mad. Will you stop?"
But yeah, I think I don't know. He's still a good manager, and he's always going to get the respect for the stuff that he's done in the game. But for me, like football, has, like Joe said, footy's moved on since the stuff he was doing and the tactics he's employing don't seem to have quite the effect that they used to have in footy 10, 15 years ago.
The Bale thing, is it a loan deal, yeah?
Yeah.
With Real Madrid paying the majority of his wages. Because people are mentioning here, where are Spurs getting 300 grand a week? Pay Gareth Bale. I would suggest Spurs are probably paying him 150 a week, and Real Madrid are paying the other 450. Just to get 150 grand off their wage bill. And I don't know if he's out of contract at Real Madrid next summer, so it could be a case of, listen, take 7 or 8 million off a wage bill this season, and he's gone next year because he just wants to play golf, and that's fair enough, I presume, a lifetime membership to the Belfry or something like that is included in the contract as well. Arsenal fan circle channel, whose name is Ray, by the way, so thanks for telling me that. He says he doesn't usually watch other fan channels, but this one is quality. Well, check out All Leeds TV, because Joe and the lads there are sound, and check out Kopite as well. Them boys are brilliant, and listen, anyone putting out content on a regular basis, like the likes of Joe, Jay and Mick, and others, the likes of Kopish, just with Liverpool Beige of the Anfield rap, Redmen, all these sorts of, they're all working hard and they're all working to bring it to people. So supporting them is really, really good. I watch a lot of Arsenal fan TV, but that's for different reasons. But lads, before we go, I want to give a little mention to the promoted sides, and I think it's right because with Leeds being a promoted side, I think it's only fair that we do that on this first show that we're doing on in midweek. And Leicester dispatched West Brom. Leeds are beaten at Anfield in a really tight game. What was the other result?
Fulham got battered 3-0 by
Fulham, of course,
Arsenal,
the first game of the season. Mick, I'll come to you first. What do you make of these promoted sides early on? Because, Leeds have a way of playing and they have Bielsa, and I think that's a big advantage. West Brom, I seen a bit against Leicester and I thought, what the fuck is going on here? And I seen Fulham at home to Arsenal, and I just thought it looked like Fulham from whatever it was 2 years ago when they were in the Premier League, all over the shop. Do you think any of these have a chance of staying up?
Leeds, I talked about this with Jay. Leeds have 100% got it. If they play like they did against Liverpool the rest of the season, they've got a chance of potentially getting top 10 because they'll scare the shite out of teams, to be honest with the way they play. When I look at the table now, the bottom three are West Ham, Fulham and West Brom, and that's, if my prediction before the season started was those three to go down, so it's pretty much spot on. I think Fulham and West Brom, because they yo-yo up and down quite a lot, I think that's just in their psychology now. They're like, well, we're going to come up and then we're going to go back down again in the next couple of years. Whereas Leeds, it's been what? Has it been like 15, 16 years?
16 years, mate, yeah.
So it's been a long time, and you've got a coach in charge who actually gives a shit, and who's got tactics in place they're going to implement, and he's got a strong philosophy, and you've got the players to go with it. And barring any injuries to any of your key players, you're going to have a great season. But the other two, I just feel like it's a slight delay and inevitable. They've got up to the Premier League. Just another one of those things where they're going to maybe stay up for 1 or 2 years. They're going to go back down again. And I don't know, with Leeds, I feel like it's different. And like I said, it might be like just a psychology thing where they think, oh, we're going to come up, have a couple of paydays, be up for 2 years, go back down again. With Leeds, I feel like it's different. As long as Bielsa sticks around as well, they've got a chance of staying in the Premier League for as long as they want to, as long as they keep the right men in charge and they keep pumping money into the club to get the right players in at the right time.
Yeah, Dan Barker says Leeds are more suited to the Premier League than the Championship, I presume. I think he has a point. As long as they can keep players fit and keep fitness levels high. West Brom and Fulham are the whipping boys as far as Dan is concerned. Let me see. Stu Mack says, Joe is class. I watched the Leeds lads because of Bielsa chiefly. Very similar humility to Gav. Humility, jeez, I've never been described as that. Keep it grounded, boys. I'm only messing. No, listen. The idea behind a lot of fan channels and podcasts like that is to be able to talk about football, listen to people's opinions, and actually listen to them and argue and debate all you want. But yeah, it's one thing that people like doing, like listening to, and once people like doing it and people like listening, it'll continue on. Someone says, who's snoring? Avo says, there is a noise coming through. I don't know what it is. It could be a faulty mic or anything like that. I don't know.
So I could hear that as well. What was it?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Yeah, I don't know what I thought. Maybe it was a phone, maybe vibrating in the distance somewhere as well. So I don't know.
I was thinking that. I was like, what the fuck is that?
Sorry. A bit there, I could just hear snoring. I was like, "Fuck now, I need to wrap this up quickly." Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know something? When it was happening, all I could think of was John Aldridge, because their WhatsApp group, like during the game against Red Bull Salzburg, were like, why does John Aldridge keep making that noise where he keeps going all the time? And the lads got absolutely freaked out for the whole game. And anytime anyone makes that sort of noise now, it's like, who's doing that John Aldridge thing? But Jay, coming to you, I think it's a very fair point on Leeds. I think, and I said it when we had Joe on last week, when you take Norwich as an example, and I've said it before, Norwich come up and they have a pretty way of playing football, and they like to be progressive in the way they play football, i.e. pass from the back, make angles, stuff like that. But we're very naive off the ball, very naive in the decisions they made, and they weren't intense enough. Where Leeds, to me, look like a team that have a way of playing. Their intensity is unbelievable, but they have a manager there that can change when needs to be changed. He can make them get stuck in when they need to during the winter months when it's cold and windy, but you're not going to Stoke, so it's all right. And then play football when they need to. So that's the difference for me. But West Brom, to me, and Fulham just look like, lads, did you get told on Friday night as we're playing the Premier League on Saturday what's going on? Is there something for you where you agree with Mick and probably myself that Leeds have a great chance of not only staying up and probably progressing a bit more than that, but the other two just look, I know it's only one game, but they look a bit lost at sea?
Yeah, it's the standard stuff where, like Mick said, the yo-yo, don't they? They're up and down. And again, like you said before, Gav, I don't see Fulham being any different to the Fulham that was in the league 2 years ago. So, I think the only team that are going to survive is Leeds. And again, just not focus on the other two. I just think, well, obviously, Jose, it's Leeds were absolutely phenomenal with us. And me and Mick have interacted with quite a lot of Leeds fans with the two shows that we did on our channel, and every one of them was just absolutely brilliant. In more ways than one, and like the way they were just so happy to be back in the Premier League, and they've deserved it. And Leeds have been ready for the league for a few years now. Leeds haven't just all of a sudden just won the Championship because they've been in mid-table all the time. They've been a bit like us, where they're quite unlucky not to get a league title or a promotion in the last couple of years, similar as we've been unlucky not to win other trophies. So they've been ready for the Premier League for a few years now, and I genuinely believe that they've all got the hunger now to just stay up there. And as well as the fan base, like we said, it's been 16 years, and I'm made up that Leeds are back in the Premier League, because it does feel like old school, where you're collecting stickers with all the old Panini stickers, and it was uncomfortable that Leeds were gone, and there's some amazing memories of Leeds down the years and Liverpool games. We spoke about it, didn't we, Mick, with the Tony Yeboah games, the Mark Viduka games, which still gives me shivers now. But we got our 4-3 revenge the other day, didn't we, lads? So, no, mate, Leeds are going to be brilliant this season for a lot of reasons. The same way there's been surprises over the years. Remember when Ipswich came up years and years ago, and they were surprise package and finished 5th and played some really entertaining football. Wigan Athletic, when they first came up, they were a big surprise. I don't think people expect Leeds to be a surprise, because Leeds are a household name in a way to a lot of people in football. But I do think that Leeds will do really, really well, and they'll stay up no problem. And again, so just to echo what the other boy said, I think it's going to be very difficult for West Brom and Fulham to stay up.
Okay. Joe, we got your thoughts on West Brom and Fulham last week when we were talking to you last Friday. So I'm going to put you on the spot, and we can clip this out as well when the end of the season comes, and we can all have a good laugh about it. I'm being absolutely upfront with you, so there's no point in ringing a solicitor. So, give me, what position do you feel Liverpool can finish in this season? Leeds. Sorry, Leeds.
I was going to say top 10. I think genuinely. I look at the bottom three, but then you've mentioned like West Ham. I would have them down there, Fulham and West Brom. But the rest, I look like your Brightons, your Newcastles, your Crystal Palaces, etc. We're better sides, genuinely. Not on an individual basis. This is the thing. You probably look at Fulham's squad. If you went man for man on an individual, you probably think they have a better squad. But our teams, it's about the sum of its parts. Do you know what I mean? And they're a unit. And I just think, look at the performance on Saturday, for example. And this isn't just a flash in the pan. I keep trying to say to Leeds fans, we have to win against Fulham on Saturday, because if not, the whole Norwich tag will come back out again, which was doing my tits in the run up to the game against you guys. They're just another Norwich, etc. But yeah, I think we could be top 10, and if we get top 10, I think Bielsa stays for a further season, because he looks at it and thinks, another push, few more additions, I could be knocking on the door of Europe here, because he only does like a 1-year rolling contract, So we'll have to wait and see. But like that, he said 12th. I'll take 12th. Do you know what I mean? As long as we stay in the division. This isn't me being arrogant. I want to stay in the division. I just think we're better than that. Leeds United are better than that. We have Bielsa. If it was a different manager with this squad of players, I'd be worried. And I can only speak from the heart and what I genuinely feel. I just think under Bielsa and the football that I've seen over the past 2 seasons, I know what it's about. There was a lot made after the game. The likes of Suarez, etc., who said they hadn't seen Leeds before. Oh, can they maintain this over a season? Well, we've done it for 2 seasons, over 46 games in the Championship, throwing in your cup games as well on top of that, with a small squad. We now have a bigger squad and less games. Some of these individuals, like Matthias Klick, made 92 consecutive appearances. Jack Harrison's made 50. They're just, I don't know what it is, these murder ball sessions that he does, but they'll go to the last minute of every game. And I just think, I fancy us to beat Fulham. Sheffield United will be an interesting one. Then we've got City, but I think we'll be all right. And I think we'll take a few scalps along the way, Like if you come Ellen Road and if there's fans in, it's a totally different ball game if there's fans in as well. Do you know what I mean? And I think hopefully we can get fans back in, because that's where we'll pull a few scalps at Ellen Road when we get that team across the Pennines, etc., Ellen Road. So, yeah, I think we'll be fine. As for the other 2, I've said to you, I just don't really rate them. They've still got championship squads, in my opinion, like Tim Ream at centre-back, for example, for Fulham. It's the same centre-back they had when they were up before, and he was shocking then and he's shocking now, So, yeah.
Yeah, they just... they're happy
it's difficult, isn't it? 'Cause it's so early. Isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the problem. Yeah. It's so early.
I know it is so early, but it was the manner in which West Brom and Fulham were playing. That would worry me. If they went out and they were defensive and they just got unlucky, you go, listen, they're trying something. That was the manner that they were playing. That just screamed at me, like, what is going on here? But listen, we could all be completely wrong. And Leeds, West Brom and Leeds, West Brom, I keep forgetting the other team. Fulham. They could end up being in the Europa League spots, the whole lot of them, by the end of the season, and we'd all look like fucking idiots. So that's just the way it goes. Well, but what can you do?
Used to it, mate. Used to it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very used to it. But look, it's Mick saying nothing. Look, Mick is saying nothing. He's like, no, I'm not going along with that. But lads, listen, I've kept us longer than I should have, and I appreciate the time you've given us. It's been absolutely brilliant. Jay or Mick, one of you take it away. Where can we find Kopite Podcast? Social media, stuff like that. Mick is going to take it, I presume. Go
ahead, Mick.
You can find us on Twitter at the Kopite Off, or you can have a little look on our YouTube channel, which we didn't really start that long ago. We started off on like Spotify and Apple, and then we ventured over to YouTube in, was it February, Jay? Late February, just before lockdown started. So we got about 2 videos out, and then lockdown kicked in. So we had to obviously starting video interviews and stuff like that. But yeah, the Kopite podcast on YouTube. If you don't want to go and give us a little check out, a few of our videos out. We've had a few, we've had a few. Last 2 videos we've done about Leeds, the Leeds preview, the Leeds review. Sorry, the interactions we had with the Leeds fans was just unbelievable. It blew my mind. Like, just positive comments all the way. I just loved it. So if we can get a few more of them this season, I'll be an happy man.
Absolutely, mate. I just quickly, Gav. Sorry.
Yeah.
One of the comments there is Egan Etho has just said, "Is that the bloke who said no one who knew Thiago was until he was linked with us?" I'd say that's going to haunt me forever. That it's so funny. It was so funny. It's been totally taken out of context, and I love the fact that someone's mentioned it on here, mate. So nice one, Egan Etho, lad.
There you go. See,
you've got to remember her face, lad. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
called all sorts for that, but it was totally taken out of context. It was aimed at the FIFA generation who just want the guys who were giving Gino Wijnaldum all the abuse for it, and just for the sake of getting Thiago in. And I was just saying that there's lots of people who play FIFA and don't know who he is, and it haunted me for the rest of my days. That, but nice one, Egan Etho, lad.
I'm glad it will. I'm kind of glad it will. Sure, why not? You know what I mean? We can all have a laugh about it. But listen, I back up everything Mick says. Go to the Kopite podcast on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon when they go live. You'll know about it. The same with All Leeds TV. But Joe, All Leeds TV, hit us with the information.
Yeah, I mean, just YouTube, like the lads have said, previews, reviews. We do a few live streams as well, just like you guys, getting people's comments in and stuff. Watch-alongs for the games. Just as much as possible, really. We're trying to do more and more. So yeah, just head on over, check us out, please. It'd be greatly appreciated, man.
Good. And you see, the thing is, people look at, like, say, Air Channel, right, or the Kopite, or All Leeds TV, and you think, oh, well, that's just Leeds, and that's just Liverpool. It's actually not. If you actually go and watch a lot of, and listen, even, Arsenal Fan TV, or, Mark Goldbridge, or whoever it might be, they actually do a lot on their own clubs, but you'll find when the season is on, they're doing a hell of a lot of stuff about other clubs, because you have to, because clubs are playing clubs. That's how football works. So you actually get a lot of content that is based around, it could be your club, it could be the Premier League, it could be the Champions League, it could be the Europa League. That's how these channels work. You have to go with what's happening on a day-to-day basis. So if you subscribe to, if you're a Liverpool fan, you're obviously going to subscribe to Liverpool stuff, but always watch out for these channels, because, if you subscribe to them and all of a sudden it comes up and All Leeds TV are doing, I don't know, the best 10 Leeds players of all time, and there might be a couple that play for Liverpool at the same time. So it's good to subscribe to all these things, because you can get videos that interest you, even though you mightn't be a Leeds fan or a Liverpool fan or an Arsenal fan. You could be a Man United fan, but all these things, you do get content from these channels that will interest not only your own club, but clubs all around the country, Europe, anywhere. So it's important that, and I find it important when I bring people on from the likes of Liverpool fan channels, Leeds fan channels. We're going to try every club this season. We're going to try find someone from every single club this season. And I'd urge, no matter who comes on this season, go and subscribe to them, because I listen to stuff that has nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? But I listen to it because it can be interesting. I like hearing about Everton, because they're not that good up until last Sunday or Monday or whatever day they played. But I like listening to how they're going to get out of it. I like to hear how their fans talk about it. I mention Across the Park podcast because it's 3 Reds and 3 Blues, and they're really good at what they do. And listening to them talking about the problems that they have and how they should fix it is actually as interesting as talking about Liverpool some days. So that's the way it goes. But listen, it's been a brilliant chat. I've enjoyed every single minute of it. The topics have been great. The comments coming in have been great. We've had Leeds fans, Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans, Arsenal fans. They've all been in tonight, and it's been amazing. I'd like to finally again thank Mick, thank Jay, and thank Joe. Today is Wednesday. We're back tomorrow with our Transfer Agenda show, and Friday we will have your Friday forecast for the weekend's Premier League football. It's been really good. I've enjoyed it. Over and out.